The murder trial of a Lincolnville man accused of killing his childhood friend and roommate began in Belfast today. State calling several witnesses to the stand. Matthew Pendleton's accused of killing 47-year-old Kevin Currett, who lived with him at the time of the murder in January of last year. Currett's sister testified today her family had known Pendleton all their lives. She said she saw her brother 4 days before his death and noticed he had several injuries, including a black eye. When cross-examined by the defense whether her brother was an alcoholic, she said yes. According to Pendleton's defense team, Currett's health had been deteriorating. Prosecutors say the evidence will show Currett died from strangulation.
The detectives further searched the scene and found that inside the house a fire extinguisher had been discharged. They found bloody items throughout the property, including a bag of bloody paper towels hidden out back in the yard. They also found other items in the house that had blood on them, including a dog collar and belt.
He was mourning the recent loss of his beloved stepmother. On top of all of that, Kevin Currett was a profound alcoholic. He frequently drank to the point where he couldn't stand up, he couldn't walk, he was falling downstairs. These falls battered his body and broke his bones.
That trial continues in Belfast tomorrow.